2026 provides an opportunity to deliver even more progressive wins this November. Wins for voting rights, affordable living and healthcare, environmental justice, and the rebuilding of public education in Texas, and so much more. Join us this summer ahead of the midterms by investing in the Progress Texas Summer Sustaining Donor Drive, funding pro-democracy, pro-justice, progressive messaging made by Texans for Texans. At Progress Texas, we're asking our supporters to become monthly donors, and for those already on the team, to increase their monthly support. Because with your partnership, we can get the message out across Texas in this critical year. If you join or bump up your help today, we'll thank you with Perks for Progress, union-made merch to match your values. Choose from our exclusive Resist coffee mug, a Progress Texas summer koozie, or a progressive button pack. Plus, you'll get a shout-out on the Daily Dispatch. Thanks in advance for doing your part to build the progressive Texas we all want to live in today.
Hey, I'm John Adair, and I quit my job to support my wife, Holly Taylor, in her statewide run for the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. Progress Texas is my go-to place for fact-based deep dives about the issues affecting Texas, and I just love hearing directly from the people that are fighting to make our state work for everybody.
It's Thursday, July 16th, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Progress Texas amplifies progressive values, leaders, and actions. Through our No Paywall podcast and digital media, we reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's made possible by folks like you who invest in independent progressive media by Texans for Texans. Thanks huge to Doug Beaton, Susan Stonecipher, and Emily Evans for their ongoing sustaining support. We appreciate it very much. We start this morning with all our best going out to the great many Texans who are in areas affected by catastrophic flooding this morning, notably just a few days past 1 year from 2025's flooding catastrophe in the same part of Texas, which this rain event is expected to exceed in terms of total rainfall by almost 10 inches. They used to call these 100-year floods. We're clearly going to need a new term for them. News 4 SA in San Antonio is saying that South Central Texas remains under a significant weather threat after a day and a night filled with multiple tornado warnings and widespread flash flooding that continues to impact Kerr, Uvalde, Kinney, and Valverde counties, with additional warnings extending into portions of Maverick and Zavala counties. In addition to those, Harper, Fredericksburg, Utopia, Concan, Brackettville, and Del Rio have all seen heavy rain upon already saturated ground, a very serious situation. The rain is supposed to draw down a bit today on Thursday, but more storms are expected in these same areas overnight into Friday morning. The good news thus far is a lack of significant numbers of casualties, so everyone keep doing it right and stay safe. Several new developments in the Houston ICE shooting case. Anieli Ruiz at KHOU-TV in Houston says the brother of victim Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, Victor Salgado, has made further disputes against the account of Lorenzo's killing provided by the agency, saying that the agent who opened fire approached Lorenzo's van from the passenger side and that no agents were in front of the vehicle where they might have been at risk of being hit. A shot was fired immediately after a verbal order to stop the van was shouted. Victor says he and the other passengers did not know who was chasing them and that it took 20 to 30 minutes for medical help to arrive for Lorenzo. Lomi Creel and Eddie Gaspar at the Texas Tribune say there are several issues with the tactics of ICE in this case that may veer into policy violations, which could expose the agents involved to state or local criminal prosecution. The Trib had a group of 14 attorneys look at the available video, and a great many red flags are up. The ICE vehicles did not use emergency lights or sirens during a high-speed urban chase. Seth Stoughton, who teaches law at the University of South Carolina, says he finds that the footage, quote, looks more like a carjacking attempt than it does a police stop, unquote. The use of unmarked cars, the aggressive driving tactics, and the fatal shot through a passenger door are all in violation of long-standing best practices for law enforcement and possibly violate the law. The Harris County Sheriff's Office, for example, has specific policies against unmarked cars engaging in pursuits. Harris County DA Sean Tier has been adamant that any action found to be illegal by any of these agents will be cause for charges. Just as he's flip-flopped lately on data centers, Governor Greg Abbott has tiptoed out onto Donald Trump's thin ice by admitting that the killing of Lorenzo Salgado Araujo is a tragedy. Alejandro Serrano at the Texas Tribune says the governor had been silent about the matter for over a week before displaying a shocking degree of empathy and saying, quote, in Texas and across America, we don't want to see people shot, unquote. Michelle Davis at Lone Star Left notes a striking pattern of reversals from the governor lately, leading her to suspect that he may have been recently replaced by a pod person. See the link in the show notes. Donald Trump, meanwhile, has been railing against the temporary nationwide suspension of aggressive traffic stops by ICE in the wake of 2 such deaths within a single week. The president clearly wants the fun to continue. Speaking of Trump, not only has he declared war on brown folks across the country, he's also declared war on science. And one notable Texas scientist is speaking up about it. Dr. Michael Weber is a prominent engineering professor at UT Austin. You might recall that we platformed him during that Environment Texas Summit a few months back. Dr. Weber, in an op-ed in the Houston Chronicle, says a Trump executive order addressing the Donald's worries that science has become politicized is, well, politicizing science and actively undermining scientific integrity, threatening Texas's status as a global leader in energy innovation. New Department of Energy rules formalize partisan interference in federal grants, allowing political appointees to override independent merit-based peer reviews in favor of political loyalty tests. A straight-up right-wing power grab that has already begun stifling critical research across Texas, resulting in the abrupt termination of vital scientific grants and ongoing research projects at the University of Texas, Texas A&M, and at Rice. Dr. Weber notes that the politicization of these funds has also triggered the cancellation of over $1 billion in crucial Gulf Coast energy projects. By replacing objective scientific standards with political motives, the Trump administration has introduced policy volatility and undermined the stability of the process, which drives up development costs and stalls progress in Texas's nation-leading innovations in clean energy. In short, Donald Trump's meddling in science represents a dangerous step backwards that harms our local researchers and threatens our state's economic future. Right-wing politics is screwing up sports as well. We haven't said too much about the scandal at Texas Tech, whose football program recently did all they could to field a confessed gambling policy violator as their quarterback this fall. They ultimately failed in that effort, and it turns out Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was even more directly involved with the matter than was apparent at the time. Kayla Guo at the Texas Tribune says Paxton is now facing serious pay-to-play allegations that expose the deep-seated corruption that has become business as usual in his office. Campaign finance records revealed that oil billionaire, major Republican donor, and Texas Tech Board of Regents Chair Cody Campbell made a massive donation of almost $250,000 to Ken Paxton's U.S. Senate Campaign Committee on the day before Attorney General Paxton's office intervened in that high-profile college football dispute, threatening a $200 million lawsuit against the Big 12 Conference on behalf of Texas Tech if they didn't let them have their quarterback. This highly transactional move serves as a great example of the differences between the fundraising bases of Paxton and Democratic opponent James Tallarico. Paxton does dirty deals with oil gazillionaires, while Tallarico dramatically outraises him with grassroots support from thousands of small-dollar donors. And that race it is quite literally the people versus big money. We're not done with Ken Paxton quite yet this morning. Frank Hines at NBC DFW Channel 5 says the Collin County Democratic Party has formally called for an investigation into whether Paxton illegally cast ballots in 6 recent elections using the address of a home in McKinney where he was no longer residing. Court records from his soon-to-be ex-wife and State Senator Angela Paxton's 2025 divorce filing, property trust records, and the backdrop seen in podcast video place Paxton's actual residence in Denton County. This all adds up to a potential second-degree felony, which is particularly mind-blowing in this case, given that Paxton has built his political brand on the aggressive pursuit and prosecution of even the slightest whiff of voter fraud. Collin County Democratic Party Vice Chair Mary Higbee says, quote, Texans deserve to know that the laws governing our elections are enforced fairly and consistently. It's unacceptable for Attorney General Paxton to appear to disregard the very laws he expects others to follow. If ordinary Texans can be investigated and prosecuted over alleged election law violations, the state's highest law enforcement officers should be held to the same standard, unquote, and we're watching that. And finally this morning, you'll recall the minor panic that swept across social media a few weeks ago when it was revealed that a severe bending of stock market rules was about to allow shares of Elon Musk's SpaceX as it underwent an initial public offering to be forcibly sold into the retirement funds of millions of unwilling investors. An update on that from Victor Tangerman at Futurism says there turns out to have been good reason for concern. Just over a month after its historic debut, SpaceX stock has dropped below its $135 IPO price. That's a nearly 40% drop from its all-time high of $225.64, which had briefly pushed the company's valuation past $2 trillion and made Musk the world's first trillionaire. Investors, willing or not, are disappointed, to say the least, with some of Elon's biggest fans reporting massive losses in their retirement accounts after working SpaceX into risky options trades. While the company is fueling its own hype with outsized ambitions like launching orbital AI data centers and potentially physically impossible ambitions like the colonizing of Mars, investors are starting to choke on the company's real-time financial realities. SpaceX remains unprofitable, posting a $4.9 billion loss last year and is carrying a massive $25 billion debt load to fund its infrastructure and current operations. The slump, by the way, means Elon Musk is no longer a trillionaire. He'll have to scrape by with a paltry $950 billion for the moment. Austin listeners, there's a very cool event coming up in East Austin tomorrow on Friday the 17th. Our friends at Common Cause Texas are hosting a free matinee screening of the documentary film John Lewis Good Trouble at Eastside Cinema at 12 noon on Friday the 17th. Snacks to be provided and a post-screening discussion will be held on John Lewis's legacy and how we can all get into some much-needed and well-timed good trouble this election season. RSVP is requested ahead of time. See that link in the show notes. Looks like a lot of fun. Houston listeners, the next episode of our In Progress Roundtable show will come to you on the radio in the middle of a new Thursday afternoon block of progressive political programming. Today, In Progress starts at 6:30 p.m. every Thursday on KPFT 90.1 FM, on KPFT 90.1 FM, and it runs a second time every Sunday morning at 11 on KPFT FM HD2. With your support, we hope to expand our radio footprint this year beyond Houston. See the link in the show notes to make your tax-deductible donation to help us reach new audiences via Texas radio. This election year, you can support the real free press by investing in pro-democracy, pro-justice, progressive storytelling delivered by Texans for Texans. Join Progress Texas this summer ahead of the midterms and become a monthly donor today, or increase your giving during our summer sustaining donor drive. With your partnership, we can reach more independents and progressives and young voters, all of whom must be mobilized to win elections. We invite you to sign up or increase your support during our summer drive, and we'll thank you with perks for progress in the form of union-made merch to match your values. You can choose from our exclusive Resist coffee mug, a sweet Progress Texas summer koozie, and a progressive button pack. Plus, you'll get a shout-out here on the Daily Dispatch. Our longtime friend Carol Mannin has stepped up her support in the summer sustaining donor drive. Carol, you rock, and thanks so much for your dedicated friendship. We really appreciate it. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Thursday, July 16, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. When lies in Texas are well funded by the far right, your support for fact-based reporting is needed and appreciated. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. Watch the weather, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning.